Hot Thai Kitchen. Today we are making a much requested noodle dish and also a very popular dish both in Thailand and in Thai restaurants overseas. We are making pad see ew. And as per usual, let's study the name. Pad see ew, pad means to stir fry and see ew means soy sauce. So quite simply, it's a noodle dish that has soy sauce as one of the main ingredients. So now we know what that is. Let's go and look at our ingredient list. First of all, noodles. The kind of noodles that we're using today is fresh rice noodles, also known as chow fan noodles. So they're these wide, flat rice noodles that's fresh, so it's completely cooked. And there's an art to dealing with this. You never want to put this in the fridge. So, because what happens is it just hardens and stick together in a block. And once that happens, it's a nightmare to try to peel it apart. So if that ever happens by accident, you're better off buying another pack. And the best way to deal with this is to use it the day that you buy it. And you want to first of all peel it off into individual noodles. Most of the time they'll come stuck in a block like this. So while it's still fresh and elastic, peel it off into individual noodles, just like so. This is what I've done already. So it'll look like that. I'm not going to spend 5 minutes trying to peel this for you. This is what we have at the end of the day. So it's all kind of pulled apart from each other, and we're using 8 ounces of that today. If you can't find the rice noodles, the fresh one, you can use the dry ones. They have it, and all you have to do is boil it, just kind of like pasta, and then oil it and then use it. If you absolutely have to keep this overnight and you have to keep it in the fridge, what you want to do is separate it while it's still fresh, and then spread it flat onto a sheet pan so that they're not on top of each other too much, and divide it into portions. Wrap it and put it in the fridge, and before you use it, flash it in boiling water for about 5 seconds, and then that will also work. It's a little bit more work to prep, but if for some reason you have to do that, there is a way. Secondly is our vegetable. We are using today gailan, or Chinese broccoli. And the way to cut these things is because they have quite thick stalk. So there's actually 2 different ways you gotta attack this. One is to cut the stem off at a bias so that the stem is about 2 to 3 millimeters thick. And you wanna go at a bias like this. And then once you get to the smaller stem, you can go a little bit thicker, and once you start to get to the bush part, you can go 2 inches. And we do that because we're putting all of this all at the same time. Some people want to separate stalks and leaves. I just cut the stalk really thin, and you can cook it both at the same time. So that's what we have, and we're using about 2 stalks. It looks like a lot, but it will shrink down quite significantly. And once again, a bench scraper is your best friend to make an efficient cooking session. So that's that. Other than that, we have protein, about 4 ounces of protein, any kind you like. We're using beef today. Use chicken, shrimp, you can use tofu, you can use nothing if you want to. Cut into thin bite-sized pieces, just like that. And then the best part of this is the sauce. Now for the sauce, we're going to pre-make it ahead of time. And the best thing about this sauce is you can call it your base stir-fry sauce. You can use it in any chicken stir-fry, vegetable stir-fry, you can use it for fried rice, and you can add herbs, spices, or other sauces into it to customize it into something else. But for today, we're using this for pad see ew. So 1/4 cup of oyster sauce. Any brand will work. Well, this is a brand new bottle, so let's see. About 1/4 cup. You can use a vegetarian oyster sauce to replace it. The result is quite similar, and then you just omit the fish sauce if you wanted to make this completely vegetarian. So about 1/4 cup. So I'm making more than I actually need today. And that's because it will keep forever. You don't have to even put it really in the fridge if you're going to use it within the next couple of days. And so it'll be quite useful. So it's easier to just make a lot of it at one time rather than trying to remake this over and over again. 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. Any sort of light soy sauce works. I'm using mushroom soy sauce. It's from Thailand. It's Healthy Boy brand if you're interested. It is my absolute favorite soy sauce. And 2 tablespoons of that. So the ratio is 2 to 1, oyster sauce to soy sauce. For those of you who are mathematically inclined and want to scale this recipe. So about 2 tablespoons of that, and then 1 tablespoon of what I have is Golden Mountain sauce, which is another type of soy sauce. And we're using a few different ones to achieve a more complex flavor. If you can't find Golden Mountain, this, by the way, is the same thing. It's called Maggi. Some of you are more familiar with this, especially in Europe. You can just substitute all the other different soy sauces with regular soy sauce, and it'll be the same. 1 tablespoon of the Golden Mountain, and then finally my favorite condiment, fish sauce. We're going to do 2 teaspoons of this, and 2 teaspoons is 2/3 of a tablespoon. So in order for us not to waste another measuring device, I'm just going to eyeball. So there we have our base sauce, and then we are pretty much ready to go to the stove. I'm using a regular saute pan because for most of you, you're not going to have a wok, so I just want most of you to be able to relate. So you want to coat the bottom of the pan with oil, just regular canola oil, and you want to get it hot. So let's take a look at all of our other ingredients that we're going to also use. We've got chopped garlic. We're going to use about a tablespoon and a half of that. The measurement of this is not that important. We're going to do 2 teaspoons of white sugar. We are doing also about 2 teaspoons of dark soy sauce. This is primarily for color. It's not all that salty. It's a little bit salty, a little bit sweet, mostly for color. If you can usually find dark soy sauce, but it may not necessarily be the same one. So if it's really salty, be careful. Maybe reduce it down to just one teaspoon rather than 2. And if you don't achieve the color, it's okay. But if you can find dark soy sauce, it's called black soy sauce actually, that'll work as well. And white pepper, 1/8 of a teaspoon of white pepper. And we are ready to go pretty much as soon as our oil gets hot enough. You can always test it with a little piece of garlic to see if it starts to sizzle. Alright, so our pan is ready. Going in with the garlic. What you're watching for at this point is when your garlic is starting to turn color. So careful not to burn your garlic, especially for those of you who have a really powerful stove at home. So garlic's starting to turn color now. You want to go with the smallest one because you don't want any of it to burn. Then we're going in with our protein. You want to cook this just about 60 to 70% because you want to let it finish cooking with the rest of the dish so that it doesn't overcook. And then you want to go in with the egg. Watch for shells. And you don't want to scramble the egg as soon as it hits the pan, because if you do that, it will be annihilated into this unidentifiable mush, and that's not what you want. So once it sets, break the yolk. Once it's set, then you want to start scrambling it. Then we're going in with our vegetables. Great thing with stir fries, everything happens pretty quickly. Great for when you don't have a whole lot of time on your hands. going in with our noodles. All of that. You want to do sauce. 2 tablespoons of our base sauce. Make sure you mix it really well because the oyster sauce will settle at the bottom. About 2 tablespoons of that. 2 teaspoons of sugar. And about 2 teaspoons of the dark soy. I'm just going to eyeball it just because it's not that salty, so you don't have to be overly careful with the measurements. And if you want it a little darker, by all means, 1/8 of a teaspoon of white pepper. Feel free to make this spicy, adding chili flakes, chili powder, if you want to. Now, once the noodles is tossed with the sauce, you want to let it kind of sit on the pan without you shaking it. This is when I see that I want to add a little bit more dark soy for that extra color. And you want to give the noodles time on the pan without shaking, because eventually, if you have a strong enough flame, you want to char the noodles a little bit, and that gives a little more flavor, a little more character to the dish. If you've got a really weak stove and that doesn't happen for you, it's okay. It's not a big deal. So you want to let it sit, pull most of your protein on top, and let the noodles cook. This is a completely dry dish, so you don't want any residual liquid still in the bottom. Okay. Give it one last flip, and we are pretty much done. Now we're going to get ready to plate. Always plate noodles high for better presentation. Always clean up the edge of the plate. A little bit of extra white pepper on top for garnish. And we're done. That's pretty much pad see ew. Now, the condiment that we often eat with this is pickled chili. Today I'm using Serrano's. You can use whatever spicy chili you want. Just soak it in some white vinegar for about at least 20 to 30 minutes. Let it sort of have time to mingle. Sprinkle a little bit of this onto your dish, and it'll add that acid that'll brighten the sweetness and the saltiness of this dish. And that's it. That's all for our pad see ew episode today. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time for your next delicious Thai meal.